From the Led Zeppelin legend who conquered stadiums worldwide came four children whose lives took wildly unexpected turns. One tragically lost at 5. Another became a millionaire brewery mogul who ditched rock stardom. A third transformed into a mystical belly dance performer, embracing Middle Eastern culture. And the fourth remains a mysterious figure born from rock's most controversial family scandal. Here's what really happened to Robert Plant's children. Carmen Jane Plant. Carmen Jane Plant made one of the most unexpected career choices in rock history, completely abandoning her father's musical world to become a professional belly dancer and Middle Eastern cultural performer. Born on October 21, 1968, just 12 days after her parents Robert Plant and Maureen Wilson were married. Carmen grew up during the height of Led Zeppelin's global domination, but her childhood was marked by profound disconnection from her famous father. The impact of Robert Plant's constant touring created a deeply traumatic situation for young Carmen that would shape her entire relationship with fame and family. During Led Zeppelin's intensive touring schedules in the early 1970s, Plant was away from home for months at a time, leaving Carmen to be raised primarily by her mother on their family farm in England's Black Country. The absence was so complete that when Plant would return from long tours, Carmen genuinely didn't recognize him. In a 2007 interview, Plant himself revealed the heartbreaking reality of these homecomings, explaining that his daughter would become agitated when he walked through the door because she thought he had come to rob their house. This confusion and fear from his own child became one of Plant's deepest regrets about his rock star lifestyle. Growing up, surrounded by the music industry but feeling disconnected from it, Carmen chose a radically different artistic path. She began training as a professional dancer, initially studying ballet, jazz, and tap, before discovering her true passion in belly dancing. Her training took her to study under Serena Ramsey, the wife of renowned Egyptian percussionist Hossam Ramsey, who had actually performed with the Page and Plant No Quarter Orchestra. This connection to Middle Eastern music through her father's later work seemed to provide Carmen with a bridge between her family's musical legacy and her own artistic calling. Carmen's dedication to Middle Eastern culture went far beyond just learning dance movements. She immersed herself completely in the music, language, and customs of the region, developing a unique performance style that blended traditional belly dancing with global influences including African trance, martial arts, and multimedia storytelling. Her most notable achievement came with the creation of The Serpent Slayer, a groundbreaking theatrical production that premiered at the Exeter Corn Exchange in 2018. The show combined live music, belly dancing, shadow puppetry, and multimedia projections to create an elaborate celebration of Middle Eastern culture that showcased Carmen's evolution from rock royalty's daughter to a serious cultural performer in her own right. In 1991, Carmen made another surprising choice that kept her connected to her father's world in an unexpected way. When she married Charlie Jones, who served as Robert Plant's bass player during his solo tours. The wedding took place at St. Peter's Church, followed by a reception at Robert Plant's farm in Kidderminster, creating an unusual but harmonious arrangement where Carmen's husband became both her father's musical collaborator and her life partner. The couple went on to have 3 children together, including their eldest daughter, Sunny Plant Jones, born in 1993. Carmen has performed at prestigious cultural events, including the Glastonbury Festival and the Rivermead WOMAD Music Festival, establishing herself as a respected artist within Middle Eastern dance communities. Despite her father's global fame, Carmen has deliberately maintained a low public profile, focusing on her artistic work rather than leveraging her family connections. She continues to teach belly dancing and other ethnic dance styles while producing theatrical shows that aim to bring authentic Middle Eastern cultural expressions to wider audiences, proving that sometimes the most powerful rebellion against a famous parent's legacy is to create something entirely your own. Karak Pendragon Plant. Karak Pendragon Plant's tragic death at age 5 became the single most devastating event in Led Zeppelin's history, creating wounds within the band that never fully healed and fundamentally altering the group's dynamics forever. Born on April 20th, 1972, Karak was Robert Plant's second child and first son, named after the ancient Welsh warrior Caratacus, in keeping with Plant's deep fascination with Celtic mythology and Welsh history. The little boy quickly became the apple of his father's eye, with Plant's own father later describing how Karak and Robert idolized one another. On July 26, 1977, while Led Zeppelin was in the middle of what was supposed to be a triumphant North American tour, 5-year-old Karak suddenly fell ill with what appeared to be a stomach virus at the family home in England. The illness progressed rapidly, and despite being rushed to Kidderminster General Hospital, Karak died on the way, failing to respond to treatment given in the ambulance. The news reached Robert Plant while he was performing with Led Zeppelin in the United States, immediately bringing the entire tour to a complete halt as Plant flew home to deal with the unimaginable loss. The tragedy struck the Plant family just 2 years after they had already endured a serious car accident while vacationing on the Greek island of Rhodes, where Plant had suffered significant injuries that forced Led Zeppelin off the road for an extended period. Coming so soon after that traumatic event, Karak's death felt like another devastating blow from fate, leaving Plant questioning everything about his life and career choices. What made Karak's death even more painful for Plant was the response from his Led Zeppelin bandmates during this crucial time. While drummer John Bonham immediately came to Plant's side and provided emotional support throughout the darkest period, guitarist Jimmy Page and bassist John Paul Jones made the decision not to attend Karak's funeral. This absence created a rift that Led Zeppelin biographer Mick Wall claims never truly healed, fundamentally changing the power dynamics within the band and Plant's relationship with his fellow musicians. The funeral took place in the first week of August, 1977, where Karak was cremated and buried while Plant struggled with overwhelming grief and guilt about being away from home when his son needed him most. Plant later revealed in interviews that he seriously considered leaving Led Zeppelin entirely during this period, even going so far as to apply for teacher training at a Rudolf Steiner Education College in Sussex, because he wanted to completely abandon the music industry that had kept him away from his family. Ultimately, it was Jimmy Page who convinced Plant to remain with the band, but the dynamic had shifted permanently. Plant now held unprecedented power over Led Zeppelin's decisions, no longer feeling the same mystique toward Page's leadership that had previously defined their relationship. As Mick Wall noted, Plant truly no longer cared about the band's commercial success and was ready to walk away at any point if the band didn't align with his personal needs. Karak's memory lives on most prominently in the Led Zeppelin song All My Love, which Plant co-wrote with John Paul Jones as a tribute to his lost son. In a 2024 interview, Plant described the song as paying tribute to the joy that Karak gave the family, and noted that his son still mysteriously appears in his songwriting decades later, saying that every now and again, Karak turns up in songs for no other reason than that Plant misses him deeply. Logan Romero Plant. Logan Romero Plant transformed himself from the son of a rock legend into a multi-millionaire entrepreneur by deliberately rejecting his musical heritage and building one of Britain's most successful craft breweries. Born on January 21, 1979, Logan arrived just 2 years after his brother Karak's tragic death, with Robert Plant describing his birth as appearing in the middle of this explosion of emotion and pain, like some sort of phoenix, attempting to drag us from the flame. This timing made Logan's arrival both a blessing and a burden, as he entered a family still reeling from devastating loss while representing hope for the future. Growing up with the Plant surname carried enormous expectations. But Logan made the conscious decision early in his career to perform under the name Logan Romero, dropping his father's famous last name to avoid constant comparisons and build his own identity. After graduating from the University of Wales with a diploma in sports massage, Logan initially pursued multiple paths, including professional football, playing as centre-half forward for League of Wales team Inter Cardiff in 2000, and working as a male model for Boss Model Management, even fronting campaigns for British fashion retailer Mr. Porter. Despite these varied interests, music eventually called to Logan, and in 2004, he joined the local West Midlands rock band, The Riot, which later changed its name to Black Country Bandits. The band achieved some notable success, performing at prestigious events including the Bergen Blues Festival in Norway and the 2004 Lollapalooza tour. After the Black Country Bandits disbanded, Logan moved to London and joined the hard rock band Sons of Albion in 2006, serving as their lead vocalist for several years. Sons of Albion represented Logan's most serious attempt at rock stardom, with the band touring extensively throughout the United Kingdom and Europe before making their North American debut at South by Southwest in March 2009. The group released 4 singles and 1 album during their active years, building a dedicated following, particularly in their home base of London. However, by 2011, after nearly a decade of pursuing music professionally, Logan made a shocking decision that surprised everyone who knew him. Following a tour of the United States with Sons of Albion in October 2011, Logan announced he was putting his music career on hold to pursue an entirely different dream that had been brewing in his mind since he was 20 years old. He had always harbored ambitions of starting his own brewery, inspired by time spent in pubs during his youth with his father and a growing passion for craft beer culture. In 2012, Logan co-founded Beavertown Brewery with drinks expert Byron Knight, initially operating out of a barbecue joint called Duke's Brew & K in Hackney to serve their craft beer. What started as a small operation quickly grew into one of London's most successful independent breweries, with both Beavertown and Duke's Brew & K being named among the top 5 independent breweries in London by the Daily Telegraph in August 2012. The brewery's success exceeded all expectations, growing from Logan brewing beer in a rice pan in his kitchen to employing over 160 people and producing 360,000 hectoliters of beer annually. In 2018, Heineken UK purchased a minority, 49.5% stake in Beavertown for a reported £40 million, and in September 2022, Heineken acquired the remaining shares for an undisclosed sum, giving them full ownership of the company. Logan stepped down as chief executive officer, but remained with the company in an advisory role, having built a business empire that potentially made him wealthier than his father ever was from rock music. Jesse Lee Plant. Jesse Lee Plant emerged from one of rock history's most complicated family scandals. Born in September 1991 from Robert Plant's relationship with Shirley Wilson, who was the sister of his ex-wife Maureen Wilson. This extraordinary situation began 8 years after Plant's divorce from Maureen in 1983, creating a family dynamic that should have been explosive, but somehow remained remarkably civil despite the unconventional circumstances. The relationship between Robert Plant and Shirley Wilson developed in the early 1990s, though the exact details of how their affair began remain unclear, with some sources suggesting it may have been a brief encounter rather than a long-term relationship. What made this situation particularly sensitive was that Shirley was not just any woman, but the sister of Maureen Wilson, who had supported Plant through his struggling musician days in the 1960s, married him in 1968, and raised 3 children with him during Led Zeppelin's rise to global fame. The timing of Jesse Lee's birth came during a period when Robert Plant was establishing his solo career after Led Zeppelin's dissolution in 1980, following John Bonham's death. Plant had already been navigating the complex emotions of single parenthood and maintaining relationships with his existing children while building a new musical identity separate from his legendary band. Adding a fourth child born from such a delicate family situation could have created lasting damage to the Plant family dynamics. What makes Jesse Lee's story even more intriguing is the level of privacy that has surrounded his entire life, making him perhaps the most mysterious member of the Plant family. Unlike his half-siblings who have pursued public careers in entertainment, business, or the arts, Jesse Lee has maintained complete anonymity throughout his adult years. Some sources suggest that he may now go by the name Jordan, though this detail remains unconfirmed and represents one of the few pieces of information available about his current identity. The remarkable aspect of this family situation is how both Maureen and Shirley Wilson managed to maintain positive relationships with Robert Plant, despite the potentially awkward circumstances. Rather than creating permanent divisions or bitter family feuds, the Wilson sisters found ways to coexist peacefully within Plant's extended family circle. This harmony became publicly visible in 2010 when both Maureen and Shirley were spotted attending Robert Plant and the Band of Joy concerts during their European tour, when the group performed in the United Kingdom. Jesse Lee's upbringing was primarily handled by his mother, Shirley, with Robert Plant's influence present, despite his continued touring and recording commitments. Growing up aware of his father's iconic status in rock history, while simultaneously understanding the complex family circumstances of his birth, must have created unique challenges for Jesse Lee's personal development, relationship with fame. The fact that Jesse Lee has managed to maintain such complete privacy in an age of social media and celebrity culture speaks to a deliberate choice to remain outside the public spotlight that has defined his father's life for decades. Even Robert Plant's own public statements about his family rarely mention Jesse Lee specifically, suggesting a mutual understanding about maintaining his son's anonymity and protecting him from the scrutiny that comes with being connected to one of rock's most famous figures.